Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, the 4th of September, 2025. First of our fall session. Let's get started here. I think first action is we've got to vote for new leadership here, or, again, I sent an email out the other day. I did not receive any, I received one reply back.
I didn't get anything from you.
Did everyone else get it?
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it, yeah.
You got it.
That's what I just want to make sure. I feel like I'm
Can I make a motion?
sure. Yeah, like I said, I'll gladly do it again. I enjoy it, but I also don't want to take away from anyone else that would like to do it.
I'd like to make a motion to have Denny continue as our chair.
Second?
There you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
That was easy. Yeah,
We now need to vote for the vice chair.
I recommend Denny.
Second.
Now you
You mean Doug?
I'm
Doug.
sorry, Doug. I'm sorry.
I'm only doing one.
Do everything. No, I'm sorry.
You have a
Doug.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
And for secretary?
Oh, I'll recommend Josette Burke.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That was easy. Yeah, capital budgets.
Yes.
So the next time someone has to go to a capital budget meeting is, you said, 51 weeks from now.
What?
2 meetings,
Late August.
late August, it's 2 meetings, maybe 6 hours in total of time in a year. We have any volunteers?
Go ahead, Jean.
Oh, go ahead, Ron. No,
He's
Ron,
on the school.
You were first.
you go right ahead.
No, go ahead, Gene.
Fight.
I'd like to nominate Jean Kenny.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second?
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye. You got it.
Excellent.
You want to come too?
Aye. So we got that out of the way. Now let's get into the agenda for the night, right? Anything? That'd be too fast, so,
Yeah.
I feel like I missed something. Aye.
The only thing, was there any updates on authorizations after we had our last meeting for budget adjustments? You didn't have to sign anything over the summer?
We did one, Jim, right?
Yeah, we did,
I'm trying to remember
we
now.
moved some expenses up to, salaries in police and fire down to expenses, just to close the books
Yeah.
out. And animal control officer, it's about $1,200, under $2,000.
Okay,
Yeah,
just checking.
So one thing that did come up, apparently Bill O'Connell resigned
just today.
just
Yeah.
today. So we are down one member, so we'll work with Jim Brady on.
Jim said he's on it, so.
Okay, great. Excellent. Turn it over to you to.
Sure, so I think the agenda says.
Sorry.
Introduce our new member.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Michael, we have one new member this year. Michael, would you like to give a quick, I know you're from the town, but give a
Sure.
quick overview.
Yeah, Mike Nadeau. I grew up in Walpole my whole life, graduated 2011. I recently moved back as of last week. I lived in Braintree the last 5 years and had an opportunity to buy a house back in Walpole and jumped on it, actually street over from where I grew up, so happy to be back. And I always like to get involved, so when I was in Braintree, I coached youth hockey during COVID, and my kids are still a little too young to coach right now, so I figured I might as well join this and get involved, so glad to be here. Thank you for the congrats, and happy to be involved.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Is he related to Ellen?
Not to-
Now, Jim, to you.
So I think the first item after this, the formalities here, is just a brief to go over the warrant very quickly with the committee. So I'll just run through it, and I know obviously we'll have some questions about Articles 2, 3, 4, 8, and 9, 10, 11 tonight, but I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of each one. It is a smaller town meeting, only 11 articles. Article 2 relates to the in-year budget transfer. Pretty standard. Only item there is Walpole Public Schools. And Article 3 is in regards to OPEB, the other post-employment benefits for the town. It's pretty standard for the fall. Take money from free cash and put that towards their We get the stabilization funds, all three, recommending all three stabilization funds receive funding this year. You may remember that we have the general fund stabilization, the capital stabilization fund, and the facility stabilization fund. The last one, the facilities, was established last year. Article 5 and 6 are the capital budget articles. 6 is the borrowing, which is only sewer and water, and 5 is free cash and funding from retained earnings and any other Chapter 90 funds also. Article 7 is sewer and water. That's taking the commission and making it advisory board. I'm guessing that one will probably garner the most amount of debate here at a town meeting. And sewer and water commissioners are aware of it. Obviously, the selectmen are too, since they are the sponsors. So sure, we'll talk a lot about that on Monday night. Article 8 is some minor modifications to the town charter that have kind of just, the town council and I have been kicking around those ones for a few years, just since COVID. We realized we were a little bit boxed in, and it just gives us some flexibility as far as what dates we can hold town meeting, and we'll get into that a little bit more tonight. And then Articles 9, 10, and 11, Patrick can discuss that length. I meant to note in your update that I sent out a few days ago that the planning board public hearing is scheduled for the 18th of September. So with that, if you're okay, we can dig into Article 2, which I previously mentioned was the in-year budget adjustment article. It's a few years ago, we combined the transfer from free cash and the in-year budget adjustment into Article 2. So in total, this, you'll see the motion here, puts $1,178,518 into the Walpole Public Schools budget, with $588,277 coming from McKinney-Vento, Medicaid money, and student parking fees. That's the pretty standard transfer over. And then the additional funding, as noted here, the increase in the state aid by $333,241, and the health insurance savings, $257,000. You may recall back last March, April, we worked with the school and town unions together, renegotiated their health insurance a little bit, and were able to realize some savings, brought the cost down from somewhere between 14 and 15% down to about 10% for the various groups there. So I know Mike's here on hand, but any questions in regard to what we're proposing here?
Sure.
Actually, how did the school turn out last year? How far did they have to go into their reserves, do you know?
So we had.
And you just,
come to
we
the
just
mic.
need you at the microphone. You can bring the microphone to you if you want.
So our total reserves are 1.8 million, and we wound up using 1.6 million of that. That was the bad news. The good news is that we received 416,000 extraordinary relief because our expenses went beyond 25% increase within a fiscal year. So the state stepped up and reimbursed us for that, and we were able to recoup some other funding as well. So we are back to about 980,000 of the 1.8 we originally had. So that was the good news. We didn't exhaust the whole balance of our reserve.
Could you just repeat that again? So we started last year at 1.8, you used 1.6, you got reserves back, and now
we're
you're
back
at
to about
900?
980, around 980,000.
Just a little less than, a little more than half of what you had a year ago.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
When does the state give us the money back, give us that money?
They gave it to us at the end of the fiscal year in hopes that you would use that to close out the fiscal year. So we were able to, because we had made other plans for it, we had the circuit breaker carryover, we just reimbursed the account we were using anyway to cover it, the deficit.
So we should already have that now, or is it this fiscal year?
So that now carries forward in what we'll call reserve, which is what is really circuit breaker carryover, so we can carry these funds over year to year. So that's now as a reserve again for this year.
Sorry,
Yeah.
period. Just to be sure I understand. You borrowed from an account, you put it back in the account.
Correct.
So it's not like that 980 or whatever that the state gave us was not used up.
Now, we were able to utilize that money to reimburse our account. So we have 416,000 that we were granted for extraordinary relief. That went back into the account we were using.
the state budget being as it is, I don't feel real secure. I don't think the majority of us feel really secure with what's going on in the state as far as them cutting things out. So hypothetically, and I hope it doesn't happen, if they opt to cut what would normally be coming here, that puts you back into a very precarious situation, and the town back into a very precarious situation.
It does.
And I read your comments that you put down as to what would be cut first and such, but it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because you try to set yourself up to protect the town, and through no fault of your own, the state takes everything out of your hands. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. That's accurate. I mean, if there are cuts and the town has to reduce it, as I think Jim mentioned in this document,
I see cuts.
it would come from our budget. The other thing I would say is that we budgeted more conservatively, and I think I talked about this last time that we met. We usually historically, we only budgeted for students in seats. We knew there were other expenses coming, but we felt we would just budget for what we knew at that time was in-house. And then last year, we took a different approach when we were building the FY '26 budget, and we said, we're gonna look ahead, see what's coming, see what we can predict, and take a best shot at what we think the budget will be. So we built in some surplus, I won't even call it surplus, anticipation of tuitions that are gonna come to fruition, that we kinda know. And they are beginning to trickle in, nowhere near the extent of what happened last year, but they are beginning to come in. But we have that anticipated budget for those needs. So we're in much better shape than we were in past years, and much better shape than last year in particular.
Thank you.
Just to clarify,
Go
you're
ahead.
talking tuition expenditures, not
Correct.
tuition income. Just
Correct.
so
Yes,
that
it's not a
people
revenue
watching-
source
No,
by
it's
any
not
stretch.
I know it's not a
You do,
revenue source,
yes.
but I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
that's an expenditure that is often unanticipated.
And mandated. We don't have we do what we can to be responsible about it, but when the bill comes due, you don't have a choice. You have to pay it.
Through you. Has the contracts been ratified for the current school year, or are we still in negotiation?
For collective bargaining, it's been
Yeah.
ratified. Yep. So we
So
were,
you're good with your numbers, and you're confident that your budget's,
and the budget we anticipated for the settlement of that contract was basically where we are.
okay.
Yeah, well done.
I think our union, I give a lot of credit to our union too. I think everyone at the table was reasonable in light of what was going on around us. Yeah, I feel blessed to have been that fortunate.
Any other questions? Any motions?
I move for favorable action on Article 2 as noted in our handout in the sum of $1,178,518.
Second?
Doug, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstain, it's 13.
Next up is OPEB. Pretty standard on this one. Recommending $1,204,060 from free cash into the OPEB account. I noted here, the balance in that account is $13,978,523. And the last actuarial audit showed the liability being just over $59 million. So
Getting
adhere
there.
to the, what we've been doing since September 2018 as far as, how do we come up with that number and stuff to us.
Any questions?
Can we put this on hold until we get to Article 4, Mr. Chairman?
I don't have a problem.
Okay, I just have a question, tying it from one to the other. Because once it goes into the OPEB, Jim, that's essentially untouchable.
Correct.
Yeah, there's only one caveat that you can touch it for. It's for, what's it, health insurance, paying down. Yeah.
Current year premiums for the retired.
Yeah.
Sure. Are there any questions at this time? If not, Jim, let's move.
Okay. So next article is the 3 stabilization funds. recommending 1.2 million into the general stabilization, 1 million in capital stabilization, and 600 in facility stabilization. As noted here, the general stabilization has a market value of just over $13 million. The capital stabilization, which we used to help fund the high school last year, is at 2.8 million market value, just over. And the facilities reserve, which was the last stabilization fund we established last year, is 464,000. So take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, when the funds go into the capital stays, is that 2/3 vote at town meeting?
All of them are 2/3 vote to
Two-thirds
get them
vote.
out, 50, majority to get them in.
And the reason I put OPEB on hold, given the politically correct, the instability of the federal cuts and the impact on the state, and the state still not sure what they're going to do, would it make more sense to put money more into the stabilization and take it out of the, and not as much in OPEB, since we have no flexibility once it goes in OPEB? And at the later point, we could transfer it out of the stabilization, general stabilization.
If that's a question for me, I think you raised this last year, and you wanted to pick 100,000 from OPEB and put it into stabilization. I really don't have a problem with that. Jody and I I expected this, Ron. I actually mentioned you. I said, I think Ron might mention this. But I don't see a real problem with it as long as we continue to fund OPEB at or close to what we've committed to in the past. I understand your concern here.
I mean, I think it's just, we're coming in uncertain times. Our expenses aren't dropping. The state, you don't know what's going on there. Certainly, if anyone knows what's going on federally, they're much better than me. So I would suggest just to round that off at 1 million of OPEB, if that's fine, and bump up the stabilization.
So would you be okay if, I'm not putting words in your mouth, making that the OPEB an even $1 million and then bumping up the general stabilization up to 1.4 million?
Yes, because I think my rationale is, I think if we come into, unfortunately, drastic times, we can get that out of stabilization at town meeting easy, even if it's a 2/3 vote. Once it's on OPEB, it's, that's gone.
So I know Mark has a procedural question, and then I'd love to have a discussion on the topic. Oh. On the sidebar.
I'm wondering why a million, why not, 750,000? I go down even further, particularly because of, as you said, tariffs and the cost of these improvements are increasing.
So let's get the then let's go to the full discussion.
So the sidebar, I'll just kind of, Jody and I go back and forth. She said, do you think they'll hold this against us? The one thing I've never pushed Article 3, what I mention here, as a formal policy of the selectmen, because when we go out to bond, they always ask, what have you put in there? What's the town adhered to? And we've generally adhered to putting aside anywhere from $550 to $275 as part of the general operating budget. This was never an accepted policy, and I haven't asked for it to be an accepted policy, because once it's in the books, they'll hold it against us if we, so that's what the sidebar was for.
Yeah, this is not what we
It's the
do is.
guideline, I call it.
Yes, yeah,
Accepted practice, but not required.
yeah. What we put into the budget in the spring is their requirement. Back to sidebar.
Did we,
Sidebar number 2.
refresh my memory, did we in fact reach the goal during the
On the
spring-
stabilization?
On the stabilization
Yeah, we have gotten
and
to-
OPEB during the spring town meeting? Because usually we're picking up and adding to in the fall.
So tell you what, let's get his question and then come back to yours and then have a discussion, sorry.
Okay.
Getting the money out of the OPEB fund, does that still require town meeting action, or is that just, that becomes your funding source if we have to take money for health benefits?
I don't think so.
We've never gone into it, and quite honestly, that would be my last line of, that would be,
I
I'd
know,
go
that's why I was just,
free cash, then I go to one of the stabilizations, because
Right.
they'd really hold it against us. And I say they, I say, I'm thinking in terms of the
Yeah.
bond rating
Right,
agencies.
but I was just curious as to the process, if for some reason we were hitting those hard times, and we said, okay, we're gonna fund the retirement health benefits from OPEB, does that require a town meeting vote, or is that just, when you put your budget together, the funding source is OPEB?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine. that
Because
we
we
would
have
need
to show it as a funding source.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, but I
as
mean,
part of the
but-
operating.
Yeah, but that would just be part of the budget vote. It wouldn't be, we have to specially vote the money out of OPEB to fund those benefits.
Yeah, it would be listed as one of the funding sources.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna come, you had a,
That's all right, go to everyone.
kind of,
Kathleen.
we kind of were talking a little bit in
Yeah,
general.
Before, so let somebody
Oh,
else.
I was just asking about the amount and why not go even further this time?
Let's go to him and then come to you, Scott.
So following up what Mark is saying, my understanding is OPEB, we can't take that out to pay for our regular operating pension, healthcare. So it has to be, we get to a certain amount. Is that correct? So we couldn't take, at town meeting, we couldn't take out 200,000 to pay for the healthcare for that year.
We can for the retired employees. You can only pay for retired employees, not current employees.
And not, it doesn't have anything to do with the pension.
Right.
I heard you say pension, so.
Yeah. He corrected himself, but yeah, so OPEB is only for retired employee benefits. So if we have $400,000 worth of health benefits to pay, we can put in the budget, 200,000 is coming from the OPEB fund as a funding source to cover part of that 400. And it would just be part of the budget vote.
So to follow up on that, how does that look to the bonding authorities and other authorities that would dipping into that?
So you're kind of making the opposite argument of like, what, will they hold it against us? That's,
Well, if we,
If we're drawing from
if
it,
we're
they
drawing
may.
from
Oh,
it,
yeah, they
not
definitely-
the funding of it.
Right.
If we're drawing from it,
they definitely hold that against, and the actuarial auditors would too, so.
and has any other cities or towns had to resort to that? I
No,
mean, a lot of them, a lot of them don't have the percentage we do either. Is that
I think
correct?
they just decide not to fund it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, okay.
Scott?
Yeah, Jim, is there an amount that, I think our bond rating's, keeping it strong is important. Where's that line? Like, can
So-
we put in 800 and
I
won't
heard
affect our
Audrey just
bond? Is it
mention,
a
can we drop
million?
it even lower? I would not be comfortable dropping it below $1 million, because at least, again, she's probably less comfortable than I am talking through this right now, because, one, I like it in the stabilization. Jody's a little even more conservative than I am, but I think if I got put on the spot by the bond rating agency and said, well, you may not have a policy, but your general guidelines that you've showed to us over the last few years have said, you will, I did it down to the dollar here, the 1,204,60. I could say, well, I'm also factoring in the 275,000 that we appropriated at the fall town meeting, which is the previous spring town meeting, which is what we actually did. And I said, if you factor in those two numbers, you'll get us past what we have as a general guideline. I wouldn't be comfortable dropping it below the $1 million.
Thank you.
And my question was similar.
I mean, we're amongst friends. What's a million, what's 7?
Million here, quarter
It's like pocket change, right?
Oh, my.
And we're going out for a bond rating, was it December, November sometime for the
Yeah.
25 million for the high school, the bands that we did for 7 million for the middle school, and then a few $1 million for the sewer and water, right? All bundled in?
5 million for 2.2 for Willis Lagoon, and then, not sure where we are with Allen Dam, but that's another 2.2.
Yeah.
And then
Just make
whatever
sure
we're
you got a
putting in
microphone.
here, which is
Yeah.
1.5. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I would.
Make sure you got one too.
recommend against going more than the $1 million, if we're lower than the two, because they're gonna look at it in November, or December when we go out to borrow and ask, they grill us. It's like a long call, and we have to have questions answered beforehand, so.
Yeah.
So with all of this, to clarify, I'm listening, the original idea was
Into,
$1.2 million to put $1 million into
OPEB.
OPEB and take the remaining and put it into stabilization.
Right.
So just to make it round numbers, what I said, Denny, is $1 million even for OPEB, and then making the general fund stabilization 1.4 million. increase from 1.2 to 1.4.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask this question. Does anyone have an objection to that?
I don't
Or
have
counter
an
thoughts.
objection, but I'm not gonna support it. I have no problem, Ron, with what you're proposing. I just feel like, we're always taking money out of OPEB, or I feel like we're never kind of meeting that commitment. And I know we have these guidelines. I would just prefer to see these guidelines continue to fund it at the full amount. I recently read an article in Governing Magazine that said that local communities wouldn't be as hard with the tariffs. So Jim's always able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. So I have a lot of faith in his budgeting ability. So I understand the concern, and if it passes, I don't have a problem with it, because it's going from one savings account to another. You're right, we could move it back. I just would rather keep it where it is.
I don't,
Yeah.
through you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
please.
I don't have a disagreement. I mean, I just figure we have more control over the stabilization fund than we do with the OPEB, because once it goes into OPEB, it's a darker hole than stabilization.
It's a dedicated expense.
It's easier
that
to
can
get
go
out of
against-
stabilization
Right.
if we have to with town meeting,
Right.
then,
So-
do we, even if, to Jim, OPEB, if we wanna take it out of OPEB, is that a 2/3 vote, or at town meeting?
It's just
We
part of the
weren't-
budget.
You just
the
don't.
Budget, and it can only go to the health insurance
never
for the
done it.
retired.
But
Right,
what
but then
we're-
remove it out of this,
I'd have to lift, I'm just thinking how the budget, Article 3 is usually worded at the spring. It's listed as a funding source. I think, and I don't know for sure, Ron, I think it would just be a majority, but I'm not 100% sure. Because it would be listed as one of the funding sources.
So I'll-
Again, if it ever got to that, Ron,
Yeah.
I would, and I'd probably get the director from the selectmen, zero out that 275 that we budget as part of OPEB, as part of the operating budget. And if we even needed to go even further, that would be pretty far down the rabbit hole to get the money out of OPEB.
right?
Like,
so
it would
that's
be
why-
really bleak.
That's why I prefer to have it in the capital
So-
the general stabilization than the OPEB.
Jim, the stabilization fund is at 1.3 now. If we put $1 million in, it goes to
You're almost 15.
13 million, excuse me. It'll go to
Almost
14.
Yeah,
Uh,
14.9.
Yeah,
That's
14.4.
That's 20% of our.
Yeah, so we're well over, well, the goal was to get to 10. We accomplished that a few years ago, and then we've kept going.
It's not bad to get past it. I mean,
No,
now
I-
the goal is 15.
So, I mean, we're a nation that's 30, I don't even know how many trillion in debt, 30, 33, 34? 36 now?
36, yes.
We got a state that keeps spending money as if it's never going to come, the supply's never gonna come to an end. So all of these sources are gonna dry up soon in reality, though I've said this the last 4 years, and it hasn't proven correct yet.
Hopefully it doesn't.
But I'm channeling my inner Larry, who wants to make sure we fill our OPEB requirements, so Mark and then
Yeah,
Audrey.
so based on the numbers, the 59 million is net of the 13.9. So if you just do quick math and say 15 million divided by 73, we're funding 20% of the total liability for our retirees. And 20% is a nice milestone, and we're gonna make dents into that going forward, and so I'm fine with the $1 million number.
Can I attempt to do something that's probably pretty stupid, but I'll pretend it's for the benefit of our new members? And because I don't subscribe to Governing Magazine, that's not in my budget. But the way I understand OPEB is this was established after a market crash where investment accounts for retirees just lost all their money, and the towns couldn't fund their retirees' benefits. And so this requirement is that in the event that we lose all this funding or towns are not able to fund their retirees, it's almost like an insurance to make sure we can support our retirees. So we would only touch it in the event that we can't cover those existing costs, right?
Yeah, and that would be like a catastrophic event, because right now it's like pay-as-you-go type of
Right.
thing.
And some towns, as you said, choose not to fund it, and they may suffer from their bond rating, but yeah, okay.
A few towns voted to fund it completely via an override, and that was just kind of, I think it started, and you were right, after the collapse in like 2010.
There's been so many
11, we started-
collapses, right?
yeah. We started funding this thing, so.
Okay. Thank you.
So, sorry.
Through you, I would support lowering it to a million, only because of the uncertainty. You're mentioning the state, I'm more concerned about what's happening on the federal level, of course, that then filters down to the state. And because there's so much uncertainty, I like the idea of being able to put it in a fund where if we needed it, we could reach it. And so I would support changing that 1 million to 1 million.
Well, then, do we have a motion to,
So, do we, just deal with one article at a time?
Yes.
The funding of the OPEB to be $1,200,000.
So no, I think you're recommending favorable
Yeah,
action
sorry,
in the amount of $1 million.
$1 million. Reduce it from 1,204,000 to 1 million.
Second.
sorry, I'm just gonna get Ron, Sue, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And abstain.
I need to abstain.
Okay.
11-1-1.
Thank you. The math was gonna get difficult now with the extra there.
So Jean's abstaining.
Great.
So if I could just suggest a motion, recommend for Article 4, favorable action on Article 4 in the amounts of general stabilization, $1,400,000, capital stabilization, $1 million, facility stabilization, $600,000.
Do we have a motion for that?
What he said.
Quick question on the facility for Johnson. What kind of things are you looking at down the road that need to be repaired or updated on the building?
Honestly, the biggest concern I have is probably the electrical and then the boiler.
Okay.
Patrick and I happened to be talking to Anderson Electric last week, right? Yeah. And that electric system, the switchgear, we've been talking about switchgear a lot the last 2 years because of the two buildings that were, and I happened to ask him, what are we talking about in terms of the switchgear? It's original with the building.
Yeah.
And we were talking, did you say $1 million? Just for
Yeah,
just
and
the-
if you change the switch gear, you have to change the original wiring.
yeah. So
Is that on the 5-year plan, or is
Yeah,
it
everyone
just?
knows that.
it's, he said, don't touch it until it
Yeah.
goes, because it's gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna be a whole building shut down,
Yeah.
because Eversource will need to get involved, so
Yeah.
the more money we keep putting, eventually it's gonna come. Because the roof on that building's newer, most of the windows are, but the boilers and the electrical are not.
Alrighty. Then I move favorable action on Article 4 as noted, as amended to 1,000,004 for general, 1 million for capital, and 600,000 for facilities.
Second?
Sue, Mark, Sue, all in favor?
Aye.
Are you opposed, or are you?
I feel like I have to be consistent. I opposed the
Fair
previous
enough.
one, so I have to oppose this.
And you can vote for this one,
I
right?
can,
So this will
and I
be
voted yes.
12-1-0.
Okay.
Yeah, just make sure we got that right. So that's Articles 2, 3, and 4 that are done. Next is 8.
8. There's changes to the town charter, a few minor changes here. Specifically, Section 1, as it relates to the dates of town meeting, instead of boxing us in with certain dates certain on town meeting, being the third Monday in October and first Monday in May, it provides us with some flexibility for it to be held basically in the months of May and June for the Springtown meeting and the last quarter of the year. It requires the wording as presented here does require us to have annual town meetings. And initially, I asked town council, do we need to? And she said, logistically, if you had a resident come forward and propose a change, you'd at least want to be able to say, okay, we need to address that, or not just have to call a town meeting within 10 or 15 days. So she suggested keeping 2 annual town meetings, which is why it's worded the way it is. And then Section 2 is just addresses the budget message and the budget process. It mostly sticks to the process we have in place, but you may recall that like the last 4 or 5 years, the state budget, especially when the governor changes over, is very slow to come out. I'm always waiting on health insurance numbers to come out, so it just provides us with some more flexibilities here. It allows me to set some deadlines of January 31st to establish the budget schedule. I don't see us really changing this that much, but it just, again, allows for some flexibilities there. And then the Section 3 of just addresses the budget message specifically and basically says what I need to include in there, because again, now it's vague. I cover, if you read it, I cover a lot in there. I don't just use it as a budget message. I use it as a state of the town. Here's our revenue and our expenses, but also here's where we stand in terms of debt, our free cash balances, ongoing projects in town. So it just brings everything kind of more in line with what we do currently.
Mark? I like the idea. My one concern is the spring town meeting. We could open town meeting and get postponed, have half the articles done, election day shows up, the next town meeting convenes after the election. You've got the entire RTM class possibly turned over. You possibly could have a new moderator, and somebody could get up and say, I vote to reconsider the previous articles, and we're starting from scratch.
I understand that, and actually, council and I went back and forth on that one, because I believe the way it's worded right now, okay, so this is the language. I'll read it. Town meeting shall meet annually at 7:30 on the first Monday in May to consider or adopt the annual operating and capital budgets and to act on financial subjects and pertinent matters. The meeting shall be continued until all articles of the warrant shall have been acted upon. However, and this comes into, this is what concerns me currently,
Yeah.
because we have moved up our town meeting.
Yeah.
All business must be completed prior to an annual town election. Now, the town election got pushed back to, this year it was held on like May 18th. I
Third
think.
Tuesday, yeah.
Third Tuesday. So if we have a later town meeting and it's Monday the 7th, and it could be really tight.
Yes.
The language that council drafted here provides us with some flexibility. I understand your point, Mark, like, if it's a contentious town meeting, could it overlap? It can overlap now, and we are boxed in here, like, what if we get to the point where we just can't, for whatever reason, finish it before the town election? I think the language that is proposed provides greater flexibility on that one.
Yeah, well, the one scenario I foresaw was, there's an article on the town meeting warrant that does not get acted on before the election for an override. And people go out to the polls, vote in all their friends that are in favor of the override, and the town moderator gets up there and holds the vote, and now there's an override in place, and the selectmen that proposed the override got voted out. So we've kind of like got conflicting guidelines, because they voted out the selectmen that wanted the override, but yet all the town meeting people that got voted in are in favor of it, and so now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's called democracy.
I know, but it's like, it'd be nice to say whoever proposed it, could turn around and says,
Well-
yeah, we're gonna make this the last article because we want it to take place after the election, and we're gonna get the town meeting delayed till.
But if the town
Yeah.
hasn't votes,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
That's how
I think
democracy.
you're now stretching the,
In 2012, we had to come back, I remember, because it was close to June, and when it passed in June 1st or whenever the override, that's the last override we
Yeah.
had. We had to come back and hold a special town meeting so we could be balanced to start the year. So
Yeah.
we got into that one. So we
go down to Audrey.
Two questions. Around that point, I don't know what Robert's rule says, but the meeting doesn't adjourn until it adjourns, and so the next days are continuation. So I imagine that the body could serve until the meeting is adjourned.
That's a good,
I have no idea.
I have Robert's rules at home, I'll look it up. But the other question is, how did you arrive at these timeframes for notice? I mean, it says 3 months and 2 months, and is that, I'm wondering if we can make that a bit longer to notice people of the date. So the date to be determined by the select board at least 3 months prior to the spring annual town meeting, at least 2 months prior to the fall annual town meeting, given that the fall can happen October, November, December. Yeah.
So would you propose just keeping them both at 3 months?
Or even longer. I mean, I plan very long in advance, but I'm just wondering what the, what the thought process was around there. Is that naturally how things come about?
Honestly, that's naturally how it works kind of around here. The spring, we have a lot more of a leeway
everybody's
there.
budget,
The
yeah.
fall, it's a lot tighter, usually, to get this thing done in time to meet the advertising requirement for, that Stephanie and I work off of, for in terms of the charter specifies you have to get it out to them.
Sure.
within, I forget how many days,
Sworn
but
in the Monday
that's
after.
why it's tighter. I'm
I'm also-
trying to think if if you made it 3 months each. I don't want to, I would not recommend free cash would be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would that be?
Well, if you go to 3 months, we would have to have our free cash certified to be able to know, I'm sorry. We would have to have our free cash certified to be able to know how much we could spend for capital. And
Say that
whatever
one more
else-
time, sorry.
So if you go, right now, free cash is typically certified mid-August.
Yep.
So that really won't give us, excuse me, enough time.
So if you did 3 months, it would be September, October, so you wouldn't be able to have a town meeting until mid-November.
Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, I'm caught off guard, Audrey, that's why I'm looking at this. I think Jody's right on this one, because usually that's one of the things, it's just tight in the fall, but we're used to it, but,
And I'm also wondering how that affects, so if you're a citizen petitioning or want to add an article, you need time to gather signatures and to draft it and to get approval and review. And and if you are uncertain about the date until 2 months before, it might also truncate that timeline a bit.
Thanksgiving. Town meeting.
Yeah, it's changed.
I would be reluctant to make any recommendation to change it right now without thinking this through a little bit
Yeah,
further.
okay.
Yeah.
Could we put this on hold for consideration?
Yeah. Do you mind getting me your specific question in writing so I can
Yeah.
ask her? So you just, what would you propose then? Just
I'd
so
have to
I-
think about that, too.
Yeah, okay.
I'll email you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind if we put this off until, I think I can work with council between now and see what will be the impacts of making this each 3 months, but I want to think through it a little bit more, Audrey.
Yeah, because right now we have the benefit of the regular schedule, so you can prepare for those, especially if you're doing a citizen's petition or otherwise, right? So,
Yeah.
To follow up on somewhat what Mark was questioning about if you had a change, the year that, I don't even remember what year, as it all fades in together, but when we did not pass the general override was higher than what the voters voted on, and it was defeated, and we had to have a special town meeting the first week in July to revote all the articles, and reduce the number down to the budget
Was that during COVID?
and so I think we'd almost have to do a scenario like that. If you had a change in politics and things like that, so we had to have the special, I mean, trust me, I was the vice chair and had to make all the cuts, and it was very traumatic times, but, so you'd have to have a special town meeting if people wanted to change what was there.
Can I just ask a clarifying question for my own ignorance? Why is this different? Why is, what you've described as what we have been operating under
Right,
now?
that's what I'm saying, so even
So,
this change would.
does this change make any difference? Yeah, okay. That's what I misunderstood,
That's what I'm
thank you.
saying, it doesn't make any
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, we've run into it before, okay.
Right. Hopefully never
Doug?
again.
I have a couple of questions. I guess I'm wondering how, we started this meeting by doing the FY '26 budget adjustments. So if we don't have 5 articles for the fall, how do we deal with things like the budget adjustments? How do we deal with capital purchases? Do we just wait until the spring?
Where do you see that 5?
Paragraph B, unless 5 or more petition articles have been filed by August 15th, the select board may determine that no fall town meeting is necessary.
May determine.
I don't see us not having less than 5.
I don't either, but I guess what concerns me is we don't, we're amending the charter. And so,
But the flexibility, the word may, so it's up to the select board, and if they need to
Yeah,
transfer funds, we'll have a town meeting. But if there's no reason, if there's no fund to transfer, there's no articles, why have a town meeting?
Select board doesn't have to go through the
Which I
expense
can't
of having.
fathom that happening, but,
I
I
don't-
Yeah, it just makes me uncomfortable.
can't,
We've never had less than 10 in my,
Yeah.
so I don't know that it will. I just am uncomfortable.
but it also
putting
doesn't
into-
say, will not be a town meeting.
No,
She actually, Denny, now that you point that out, council did make that change. When we were going back and forth with this, initially, I think I had drafted the select board will determine no fall town, and she said,
May.
change it to May, gives you more flexibility there.
Yeah.
Why, just to follow what Doug's saying, why would we put that provision in?
Say that one more time?
Why would we put that provision in if there's less, let's say we still have 3 serious articles, why should it be the authority, why the selectmen,
No, there's a fair
so you have 3 articles and the selectmen said, well, you only have 3, we're gonna take this up in the spring, when they might be important, so why would we put that section in? I mean, you can always have town meeting if there's no articles and have the town meeting and the town meeting adjourns right away.
Well, if there's no articles, you don't need to have the town meeting, but if there are any articles, I don't know what, yeah, I hadn't thought of it till you said it that way, but why is it 5? If there's 3.
Right.
If there's a reason to meet,
Right.
get it
Right.
done and go from there.
But if you don't have a reason to meet, you don't have to.
You're not required to
Not
meet.
required to. You don't have to publish thing.
Thinking back to my conversation with her, because I know, just from talking to the area town managers, we're required to have this, 2 town meetings a year, and I had asked her, what if we don't need the town meeting? And she said, well, we could draft this language here and give them some flexibility there. But if you folks aren't
Subject to
comfortable with
section B.
it, again, it's
Meet
in
twice
draft
annually.
form right now.
Yeah.
I could work with council to say they're not as comfortable with this paragraph B. Do you see an issue with just eliminating it?
I would say,
I need to get a consensus from you folks tonight.
I would say, if there are no warrants, there's no reason to have a town meeting, but if there is a,
But the language in section A, even if there's no, requires
Yeah.
us, the
yeah,
language in
so
section
I'm
B,
saying,
yeah.
Subject
put the
to
language
section
in,
B,
just,
meet
it's only
twice
required if
annually.
there's an article.
Okay.
I mean, unfortunately, we've had very few contentious select board, but the possibility is there that some of them, the majority may not want to hold town meeting, even though the town may want it. And if we're under 5, then say, they can vote, we're not going to have town meeting, which is maybe not what the
Intention
electorate
is.
wants.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable with 2, or, I just want some feedback so we can,
I just think if there's any,
I think that I would just strike the or.
strike what, Ron?
Don't put in the or is 5 or more petition articles. I just wouldn't put that language in there.
So what would you delete, just so I'm clear on that? Would you, strike through what language on this?
If no petitioned articles have been filed, would you,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the select board may vote to
Right.
not have a town meeting.
So you'd say the A in parentheses here, comma, and it would read, if no petition articles have been
been
filed.
filed?
Is that
Right.
correct? Okay.
Yep.
So you're looking to strike through unless 5 or more petitions. I understand it. Thank you.
Audrey?
I just checked Robert's rules that the election immediately takes place, and I'm pro-democracy, but if we think that's an issue, you could specify otherwise in the charter that an election takes place after the annual meeting, if you're worried about a switch in the middle, or you're having something after an annual election. So I don't know if that's something people would want.
I think that would be hard because the election, you'd set the date, I mean, everything's in place for the election.
Yeah, the elections are set, funded, and it's also in the charter.
Oh, no, it would be more like specifying in this particular article that the Springtown meeting, the election of officers only goes into place after the Springtown meeting's over, of new officers.
Oh, so if I am understanding you,
Oh, okay.
town meeting happens on Monday, Tuesday we have an election. We have to meet again Wednesday. The new officers don't hold until the end of that
Till
town meeting.
town meeting
If we
closes.
specify that particularly in this article.
That makes good
Yeah,
sense.
that
Or
makes
we
sense.
can say democracy wins and the newly elected officials come in on Wednesday.
And you gotta hand everybody their packets and give them 7 days' notice. Yeah, so,
May I
okay, but yes.
imagine? I'm not sure.
I like the, finish the town meeting,
Finish the town meeting, yeah.
new officers
Yeah.
take over.
In the charter, does it say when the terms of town meeting members expire specifically, or does it, because I don't know if it says upon the election, the town, your term expires? Or,
I thought
you
it
know,
was
can-
July
or can you, or
1st.
do we have to amend that to say, once town meeting
I think
opens,
Jess
you
is
serve
right. I
until
think
town
he
meeting
gets sworn in
closes?
right after the election.
I know that she swears them in, Liz.
The
on
Monday
that-
right
that
after
Monday.
the-
Monday right after,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
So-
right, yeah.
I've never heard of someone, I mean, all the select board members, everyone,
Right.
your term ends that night after, once she certifies
After
the
you've been s-
election,
Right,
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sworn and authorized, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So to say people will serve on town meeting once it's open until it closes would violate that part of the charter.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, there's been plenty of issues open with select board, planning board members that they still may be sitting on that hearing, but they're no longer, that
They're no
new
longer-
member, Mark Trudell, starts in the planning board, he has to take over,
Yep.
Smith Road or whatever.
So we're gonna defer on voting on this. Do you have what you need, Jim, to?
I don't see a problem with modifying section B. I want to look into Audrey's question a little bit further about the 3 months, 2 months thing, so.
Okay.
I may, if you're okay with it, I may see if I can set up a Zoom link anyways and ask council to Zoom in to that meeting.
Sure.
Just in case we get into questions specifically about sewer and water too, so. Yeah.
Another question on
I guess just a comment on section 2. This indicates that, you have to give us a budget schedule as of January 31st. And that schedule will outline when everything's done, when we get our budget books, things like that. I get a little bit uncomfortable with the uncertainty and the scheduling, and I know that's the reason why you're doing this, right, the flexibility. And I understand your point about House 1 coming late when it's a new governor. But even then, right, we have the House budget, which is proposed in April, gets voted on in May. The Senate budget comes out in May and gets voted on in June. I don't know that it's gonna change much by delaying the budget message by the 31st. And I think what concerns me the most is the idea that the Finance Committee might not have a set amount of time. Like, right now, I feel like we get our books, and then we have about 10 days to review it before the meetings start, and it's not a lot of time. And so I would feel much more comfortable about this section 2 if we had something that said, the budget will be presented on such and such a date, and then committees will have 10 days before meetings begin, just for review time.
So what date would make you, so right now, it's, charter requires budget messages delivered first Monday in February. I don't love that because it boxes us in House, the governor's, now it's like 50-50 whether or not that's gonna come out by that date. The what? Health insurance is usually the other thing. We don't usually get the health insurance until about February 20th, 28th, so, somewhere in there. And that's what I'm looking for, that flexibility, so.
And I think that's fine. I would just prefer to see it here, right? The whole month of April, I feel like we have off, so we have the flexibility. We don't have to start our budget meetings in February. We could start them in March. I just want to make sure that committees have enough time to review whatever it is you're proposing. That's my biggest concern.
Are you proposing putting in a date then?
This is going to be on hold, but I would like to see a date put in here, or at least not a date, let me rephrase that. A period of time where the committees have a certain amount of time to review the budget. Let's just say a 10-day window. So you're going to give us the budget on such and such a date. Committee meetings won't start until, let's say,
Till
you
at
put
least
it
10
out
days after the
March 1st. Yeah,
yeah.
we have until March 10th before our first meeting, something like that.
And what about the meetings that we have in November?
Those aren't
The end of
impacted,
October
because
and
those are just
November.
discussions.
Their discussions, correct, but that going with data, right? That is pretty official,
Well,
number-wise, as much as they can be at that time.
The budget requests of the various departments, and you kind of
Wing it.
weigh when he gets his revenue projections and so forth, he says, okay, we talked about trying to add these, if you want these, what are we gonna sacrifice? And
Yeah, it's
that's
the
when our
The needs
deliberations.
and wants.
Yeah.
The time in November was for them to tell us what they want, us to tell them the direction, so that they can put the
So
budgets
we
together,
know
so.
what they
Because
really
often we
need.
came, I think we should take $50,000 from here and put it over. Well, if you do, now we've started this whole circle, so the whole idea was to get the information out. So before we say, I think you should take, in November, I think you should spend the $50,000 buying this equipment, or hiring this position, or doing this.
Yeah.
So Jim, please figure out a way to make that happen, meaning
Yeah,
you,
if you have the wiggle
taking
room,
money
you
from
want,
somewhere
you
else.
want
Yeah.
X, yeah.
So
I think it's a very good setup to do in comparison to what we did originally.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding your concept and I can put it into words. So you're looking for the committee to receive the budget with enough time prior to deliberating, a minimum of 10 days.
So in theory, if I'm hearing this correctly, if you put out your budget on the 10th of February, we will not start meeting until the 20th of February.
Something like
Or
That was the first time.
You don't want
Yeah.
something like,
Because it's only
hey,
28
here's
days.
April 25th, the budget, and that meeting's on May 1st.
Well, that's, yeah, I definitely don't want that, and I also get concerned with the way other committees, like, we're about to talk about other articles where I don't think the zoning board and the planning board haven't talked about some of these things, right? So there are plenty of times we want to wait to see how other committees, to see what their feedback is, and I just don't want to get boxed in with all these dates about when we have to have our votes done, when we have to have things published in the warrant or in the book. So I'm not saying a specific date, I'm just saying your budget message comes out, you give us the date, and then we have 10 days to review.
So, yeah, and then in reality, it's kind of, here's the town meeting. There needs to be this much time to get the books out. So to get the books out, we've got this much time to meet.
Yeah,
So
you
if
do
we've
it
got
all
this touch
backwards.
time, before we meet, we want 10 days to talk, so, Jim, ultimately, you need to be,
Looking back at your
But-
calendar.
So like
Instead of
you
you
said, the budget
lined up
message
on a
coming
date.
out, FinCom will have at least 10 days to review, and if necessary, because you don't want to start deliberating with that, in that 10 days. You have 10 days to review.
Yeah.
Until deliberations start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Got it. I'll wordsmith that around
Yeah.
with council. Okay.
Thank you.
anything else on this?
Your practice usually to give it to selectmen, or run it by the selectmen first, right, Jim?
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah. So usually the process I follow is Jody usually, and I, over Christmas, somewhere between Christmas and like January 5th, 10th, somewhere in there, where we finalize it, where I can bring it to the select board members. Usually they come in individually or two at a time, and I talk through it, pull it up on my screen, and they talk about it at one of their January meetings.
Just one of, none of these modifications change the dates the warrant closes, correct? We're still closing August 15th, and I forgot what the.
Well, no, A would, because it's a floating, it says within the last quarter, so it doesn't box us in, but we would
okay.
still have to adhere to notice to town meeting members. I think
Okay.
IFA has like 30 days to post it, but we have a shorter time frame to provide the planning board with notice for zoning articles. All that would stay in place.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Article 8 is deferred. Moves us into 9, 10, and 11. Patrick? Thank you for your patience listening through everything.
No problem at all. All right. Thanks, everybody. Pat Shanes, if I haven't met you, Community and Economic Development Director. So Articles 9, 10, 11, zoning articles. For anyone that may remember, we started the process about a year ago of doing a comprehensive zoning bylaw audit and diagnostic. Essentially what that means is we're working with town council and basically going through the zoning bylaws with like a legal lens to both remove inconsistent language. So over time, our zoning bylaws are, years and years old. Things get put in, things get taken out, language and state law changes. So doing a zoning audit is helpful to try to bring your zoning up to date, make it legally sound, make everything as clean and organized as possible. So Article 9, 10, and 11, we're trying to bring forward changes that will update sections 6, which is our dimensional regulations, 8, our parking regulations, and 9, which deals with nonconformities. To just kind of give a brief overview, and I'm happy to kind of take more detailed questions. I know a lot of it is it's a lot of scribbles, and I know that's can be kind of difficult to read, but I'm happy to answer any questions. But so Article 9 for dimensional regulations, really this it gets a little complicated because what we noticed this time around is there's a lot of areas where we have subsections of zoning that are out of place. And so there's a lot of reorganization that happens within a few of these zoning articles to try to put subsections in their proper location within the zoning. The dimensional regulations in particular, we move like buffers. We have a buffer requirement that was in our use regulations where it's more of a dimensional regulation. So moving that from section 5 to section 6. We made a few changes to our our table of dimensional regulations. There was, you'll notice there's footnotes there. A lot of those footnotes get added in over time to basically provide an explanation or provide relief from a certain dimensional regulation. There are a few instances where that footnote was either not relevant or the language was, it could be hindering to certain development. In particular, like in the highway business district, we have a 50-foot setback. However, that prevented parking for being within that first 50 feet, which is problematic because highway business district, it's one of our main commercial districts, and by taking away that area in the front for any sort of parking, you really kind of limit the space available for redevelopment. So the change there was to really kind of keep the 50-foot setback for structures, but allow some provision for parking to be after the first 25 feet. So kind of like a halfway measure to have some separation from the highway because you don't want cars right on Route 1, but to also provide a little bit more relief. We also changed our, I'll keep going voting.
No, I just want, so Article 9, you're going through, before you went
Article
on,
9,
I just want to make sure you're just staying on 9.
Yes, only 9. Yep.
Okay, good. Please continue then, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. One of the other changes to the dimensional regulations that's more of a substantive change than really kind of like a housekeeping change was height within the central business district. So our previous height regulation was at 52 feet. We brought it to 50 feet, but no more than 4 stories. That language was more consistent for how we word our height requirements within other business districts. We both put a height figure, but also cap stories as well. Part of the reason there is just, again, to be consistent with other sections of or other business districts, but also be consistent with our recently passed MBTA zoning, and to also provide a little bit more regulation on density. So section 5, which we did not get into this time around, is probably going to be the more difficult section to do a rewrite on, just because there's so much within our use regulations. I'm bouncing around a little bit now, but essentially that section we're saving for closer to the end of this process, just because all of the sections of zoning eventually kind of tie back to our use regulations. So the reason we made some changes to the the height requirements within the central business now was to try to address density, because we calculate density within our MBTA zoning, but we're not calculating density properly for mixed-use developments in our downtown. So right now, it's I won't go too much into it, but it's trying to provide a little bit more structure to that regulation. And so many of the other changes within Article 9, which deals primarily with Section 6, are kind of how you see them. A lot of them is sometimes wordsmithing, sometimes a little bit more of reorganization, cleanup of kind of language that could probably be better explained. But I'll stop there so I don't go into other articles. Yep.
Go ahead, Ron.
You're first.
Okay.
He's been dominating the meeting.
Hypothetically.
Yes.
With all of these changes, and I think I know the answer, but I need the clarification, does any of this affect 40B? As far as the height of buildings?
No, nothing would affect.
I realize that they can exempt themselves from all of our rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if perchance this
No.
would be something they'd have to adhere to, and it's not.
Unfortunately, yeah, 40B in any situation, so also to go back on that, we're actually in a safe harbor right now, so we've technically have reached a 10% threshold, so we're not concerned at the moment for that. We are working through a few other outstanding 40B cases that are been stuck in litigation, but that's a whole different matter. But no, in any situation with a 40B, they have the ability to be exempt from under our zoning, and so it really
That's
wouldn't
what I
affect
thought
it.
the answer
Yeah.
was, but it was like, I was hoping for a different answer.
Sorry.
Taking notes. You're with me. I've said many times, zoning articles just make my head hurt. And because and it's no fault of yours, it's just the process we go through. We see what the changes are, but very seldom do we see what the actual article was. And so it always helps to have that, but again, it makes your head even hurt even more. With all these, so many times when you change the articles, it's only some wordsmithing, but
Yeah.
how often have we had legal action against us because we have an or instead of and things like that within our articles?
So from a historically standpoint, I don't know. It hasn't happened since I've been here. I mean, I could say a good example would be, there was just a case at, off of School Street, KW Steel was, I think it's the old building that's, I think it was a school at one point. It's technically within our limited manufacturing district, and the use that was occurring there was more of a higher industrial use, but our zoning was not, our zoning didn't properly define limited manufacturing, and so that's where kind of the crux of the issue was there. Not so much we had a problem within our zoning that was inconsistent, as we were deficient in an element of our zoning. We didn't properly define limited manufacturing in that situation. So that's an example of like, so our definition section, we want to bring that up to date too and make sure that we expand on anything that is missing. That's the only case that I can think of that was kind of an issue with our zoning at the time.
Other questions on 9?
I have two very minor things.
Yep.
Under 6C, number 1,
Mhm.
it talks about the limitations of height, and it says that the limitations of height shall not apply to various things. And the second to last sentence, or the last sentence, it says that basically that the limitations on the height doesn't apply to domes, which I can see, but then it talks about towers and spires. And I was just curious if we've ever had an instance where there's been a tower or spire that's been too high, or it's fallen or anything like that. It seems like you can't
That-
obviously build something to infinity, but
I think it's supposed, I mean, Tower and Spire, if that is encompassing churches or anything in that situation, a lot of that is, the use in general is exempt, but you do have some control in terms of dimensional regulations for even a exempt use. So that language is somewhat of a carryover from what was there previously, and so town council didn't have a concern with it, and so we just kind of left it.
And then one more.
Yep.
Under 4E, what I'm looking at, it's under section 60, the buffer zones. I was
Yep.
just curious. Under E, it talks about how you have to have the screen fence and you have to clean out debris every 30 days. And I was just curious if this is a complaint-based thing, and if it
So-
becomes the building commissioner's problem to clean out or enforce this.
It would come up to an enforcement situation. The language in buffers, I will be honest with you, is mostly what is there currently. We're just moving it over to its proper section. We thought the buffer, overall, that bylaw is pretty well detailed. I didn't realize that 30-day
I
thing.
thought it was kind of funny. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I agree. But the reasoning for that is really, it's just, that's the existing language at the time, and we just more want to reorganize it.
At one time, when they were talking about downtown development, the definition of building height was described as the midpoint between the base of the roof and the peak. So depending on how you shaped your roof, you were either within the guidelines or outside the guidelines. Has that changed, or is that still the method of determining?
That's
building
still a
height?
method of determining height, and that's within our definition section, so we're not touching that now. But that is still the method of determining height. I'm talking to the building commissioner, that's somewhat of a standard
Yeah.
way of.
No, so I was looking
Yeah.
at 50-foot height, no more than 4 stories. It says, well, even if you go with a flat roof, you can't get the extra story on it. So
Correct.
you could get storage space by going to a peaked roof
Yep.
and get storage, but it doesn't count as a floor. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anyone have anything they would like to do with Article 9?
The planning board hasn't taken any
Yeah, they
Has
can
not.
have their
on any of
meeting.
these.
No, and they won't till the September 18th, right?
Which is after the book.
So I read them all. I can't say I retained it all.
That was
So
scary.
disappointed in you.
But I think I would prefer to see the planning board weigh in before we take a position.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
I'd rather see what the board's thoughts are before we commit, and we don't know a third of what the board knows. So I'd rather go by what the board says and use that as a foundation.
Move for recommendation at town meeting on Article 9. Second.
All in favor?
Instead
Sorry.
of doing town meeting, we have the public meeting.
Oh, right,
Right, but the thing is,
right.
Yeah, but for the
But
book.
the book is
the
already
book is gonna
done,
have to go
so-
out saying town meeting,
Oh,
because we're gonna
right,
vote it
right,
after the book.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
So we have a motion and a second, so we have to vote on it no matter what,
yep.
for recommendation at town meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstained? 13. Motion. And that's 13, right? 0.
So Denny, just while you write that down, we just need to keep that in mind as we get closer to after September 18th, if you want to. We don't need to make this decision tonight or next week, but if you want to have a special meeting after the 18th, or you just want to wait to vote on this the night of the public hearing, we'll schedule the public hearing at 7:30 and then the meeting at 7
Yeah.
o'clock. So just something to think about.
When's the book due?
Book due-
Last meeting for the book is the 15th.
Thank you, Mark.
So, yeah, so Thursday the 15th. No, yeah,
Okay.
Monday the 15th is the last day for the book.
Can't
Oh,
do it.
your call, we could do it,
Yeah.
we've done it at the public.
Just do it
hearing.
at the public hearing. All right, everyone good with that? Sorry. Making decisions.
Yes, can I just ask a quick question? On the table dimensional requirements, these like, what look like quote marks for required,
Yeah.
those are 11s?
So.
That refers to footnote 11?
Under limited manufacturing and
Yeah.
industrial, technically, those are existing quote marks, and the underlying line, it's technically a strike-through, but and you.
Oh, this is a strike-through?
Yeah.
Oh,
to
because
get
it's
rid of
smaller.
those. Yeah.
So where's footnote 11, or is it just
Footnote
taken
11
out?
is actually next to that, and we're removing footnote 11.
But then there's edits to footnote 11 here?
Yep, yeah, so footnote 11 is, the language is being removed.
Sure.
However, we're reusing rather than creating a new footnote 16, we're just using that spot for that highway business front setback.
So this
change.
will be footnote 16, this text that's under footnote 11 here?
Nope, so footnote 11, where it is currently,
Yeah.
it's no longer relevant, so we're removing that from the frontage for limited manufacturing and industrial.
Yeah.
But the spot within the footnote, I guess, listing in the back, rather than just removing 11 and saying to be used later, we're using it for the new language that's listed there. And so we're putting footnote 11 under the highway business district frontage.
I see it here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I didn't see the
Yeah,
11 there. Okay.
Sometimes if you have a reference elsewhere, you'll do
No,
like
no, I
reserved for
just
future
didn't
use.
notice this, and I thought the quotes were the 11.
Yeah, the quotes.
Sorry.
I want to get rid of the quotes too, but
Great.
word is, you know.
I think this is what Ron was talking about, the headache.
Semicolon where no.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Article 10.
Shall
So-
versus will.
Article 10, a little bit less invasive here. This is more or less slight changes and cleanup to our parking regulations. We're not taking an overly substantial approach to making changes. It's more or less just a cleanup of some of the language there and a better explanation of a few of the parking tables. So the language you see there, by and large, is all existing. Just notice what's underlined is a few of the new, you notice like in some of the tables, there'll be a definition of, hey, well, this is what the required parking is. Just because it's not properly explained in the table, we wanted to add that language. Other than that, there's also moving over a new section, I guess 8.10, which is non-conforming off-street parking. That language is also pre-existing, but it's improperly located in section 9. And so town council recommended moving that over from section 9 to be in the parking regulations. But by and large, what you see there, it looks a little kind of chopped up, right? So it goes like from 1 to 3. That's because there's a lot of other subsections that we're making no changes in. And so just in an effort to shrink the article, what you're seeing is just where there is an edit. So if there's any confusion there, that's just why it's kind of chopped up like that.
Questions?
That makes
Who
sense.
did all of this?
Who wrote this originally?
Yeah.
I have
Who
no-
did, what,
No, who
what
wrote the
did you
changes?
do now? The changes?
Oh, the changes? You mean each individual change within this?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a new line under section 8.1, just to basically add some clarity there, so for the intent of parking.
Excuse me.
Yes.
It's like, who put the work into this?
Into the already.
Was this all
Patrick and
you?
town
Yes.
council.
Town council, I'm sorry, so we have a steering committee that works on this, so we worked in conjunction with town council.
God bless you.
Yes. I thought you wanted me to go through each change. I'm like, oh, man, you really want to do that?
Don't worry, I would have put a stop to that.
I agree with Ron.
Yeah, speaking of heading, and forgive me if I spaced out, and you said this, where are we on the comprehensive zoning rewrite for the entire bylaws to make them more consistent and to align with the master plan and all that?
Technically, this is that process of doing
Okay.
comprehensive rewrite. So it starts with conducting the zoning audit and diagnostic. A lot of it is, as I've explained before, just really, it's cleanup, making it legally sound. There are some substantive changes because they just have to happen in order to better explain certain things. Right now, you know, not looking at what we passed previously in this, we only have, I think, section 5, which is fairly lengthy of how many different subsections there are. And then there's sections 10, 12, 13, and 14. And so in terms of where we are in the process, probably maybe another year, maybe at least another spring and fall.
So from my perspective, Patrick came to me with, I think, two or three more sections in addition to this to change, right now was, sound about right?
In terms of, yeah.
Yeah, so we're making changes to just these sections here, but he had a few other sections, and like Ron said, I'm like, I think you heard me, like, it makes my head explode. So I like the number stuff, I don't like the zoning, well, I know it needs to get done, but like, it's just gonna take some time if we did it all at one town meeting, it would just, you'd lose people.
You'd have zombies walking out.
No, it's
there.
nice to know.
That's exactly right. We try to,
Members would
doing the
know what
3
you're
now is
talking
just because
about.
it was probably easier to take this off in one chunk than I gave you a 300-page
Yeah, no, it's just
warrant.
nice
You
to
might be
know, it's,
upset with me.
yeah, it's nice to know it's all working towards one combined goal, because, I mean, I think if you're not paying attention, you could say, didn't we just fix parking last town meeting?
Yeah.
And that was around, so, I mean, I think it would be helpful to share all the work that's already gone into it and how this is part of one big effort to make everything more clear and continue to say that over and over again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, on the community development page, we do have a different subsection for it, where I'm just listing all the different material that's there. Could probably do a better job of advertising that, but we do have it online.
Any other questions on Article 10? Seeing none, Mark, you want to make another motion?
Actually, I wanted to move favorable action on Article 10, because I don't think there's much that's going to be debated by planning board.
People feel comfortable. Doug, what's your thoughts?
I don't disagree with Mark, I'm just afraid what I don't know, what I've missed. You know,
I think if we're waiting on 9, might as well wait on all of them. So does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for favorable action at town, or
Defer
to
to-
defer to town meeting. yeah.
Recommendation.
Recommendation at town meeting, yeah.
Recommendation at town meeting.
Second?
Yeah.
Doug, Josette, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? That's 13-0-0. Oh, my God. And now for the highlight of them all. Article 11.
So Article 11 is dealing with non-conformities. So the main factor that went into a lot of these changes is having this section of zoning be accurate and consistent with state law. I know that's a phrase I've thrown out there a bunch of times, but this is more so for this section, because a lot of this is outside of really town purview. It's dictated by state law. So the language, while it looks completely, crossed out, and believe me, when you look at the clean copy, it reads well, but it is really just there's a lot of language that is either not properly covered within state law, or it's over-explanatory and not really necessary, because it is better to just cite state law. So, that is really the bulk of it. There's a few other changes here where we're taking a section, we're putting it, we're adding it to enforcement, because it really, and that's section 3 of our zoning bylaws. So you'll notice at the top, we have a recommendation of, obviously not only making changes to section 9, but also moving a section over to section 3. And then there's a recommendation to strike the definitions for non-conforming situations, non-compliant situations, and non-conforming structures 10 years or older. The reason that is because that language is not actually consistent with, it's Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6. It's part of the state zoning law, so that language isn't really accurate. So that's why you want to remove that and only kind of defer to what is under state law, which deals with non-conforming uses and structures.
Questions?
Sorry.
So simple. So,
Excuse
she's
me,
looking at
Doug,
me,
I'm looking right at you, I'm sorry. Senior moment.
I will make a motion to defer this.
I second that.
Perfect.
Recommendation.
Recommendation at town meeting.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Abstained? 13-0-0. So as we're going through all of this, I don't know if this would be helpful to people in the future. I'm an attorney, I will say that, and deal with red lines all the time and agreements back and forth between parties in notes and edits and swaps, where you can see, in red, it's crossed out, it's just using Word.
Yeah.
There might be a much easier way for us to look at this, because I feel like this is very,
I'll be perfectly honest, it's hard for us going back and forth with this. I mean, even section 9, even going back with town council, we had formatting problems with Word, just going back and forth. And we were having to fix that because we were looking at different things in order to get it straightened out. On the webpage, I did add just kind of a breakdown of here's what the existing zoning is. So here's what the zoning article is, here's the existing zoning, and here's what it looks like when it's cleaned up. I don't know if that would have been helpful to just see
I'm just
Yeah.
envisioning, you know, as you see the stuff underlined, like, that's red.
Yeah,
The stuff that's crossed out is, you know, it's clearly crossed out and striked. You can accept the formatting changes that come in.
Yep.
But then if there's a note or a comment, like you want to add something to it, like, hey, here's why we're doing this, makes the font, everything will get a little smaller on the page.
Yep.
But we can see things much easier.
Yeah.
And then when you're done and everything's good, you just say accept all and move forward, or, you know. I'm assuming the attorneys,
We all, so that is the, you know, this is the, what it looks like to go on the warrant, but we are looking, the steering committee and that town council, exactly what you're talking about. It's the explanations of
Yeah.
here's why I'm doing this, and here's the committee's
I
recommendation.
also think to do this takes up a lot. You got to go back and highlight and underline and, right, or someone doing this?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that bad.
All right. I'll leave it alone on there. That's my thought process. I don't know whether that's good or not. Is there anything, Jim, anything else on, that's the agenda for tonight, right?
Yes, that is the agenda for tonight.
So I am not going to be here on Monday. I apologize. I had travel that was planned a while ago. Leave it in the great hands of Doug. Should be a quiet, easy, relaxing meeting on Monday.
Do you see any reason why we would have to
In your
meet on the
fantasy
11th or 15th?
No, I don't see any reason. I'm actually in the middle of typing up a note to town council about this charter stuff. I've already asked her if she could be in attendance, so, you know, if the sewer and water discussion goes longer, this charter stuff goes longer, we could push it, we have plenty of time.
I was going to say, we do have, you know, a meeting scheduled or reserved for next,
Yeah, but Mark had asked if it goes beyond, do I see a reason to meet the 11th?
Oh.
I don't, right now, no, but,
Okay.
I'm going to assume.
you know,
I won't be here for the 11th.
Won't be here on the 11th either.
Well, then, I'm
We
feeling the
might not have
11th
a
is not going to be a great day to meet.
Better get it done Monday.
Well, yeah, then we can push through the 15th, which is the day before he has to turn in his letter, so yeah.
which we've
done
We
before.
built in, Stephanie and I conservatively built that, so if we need to meet the 15th, we're okay. We can crunch it, yeah. I just don't know what direction the sewer and water stuff's gonna go in. I just received notice that they met in executive session without posting it and told the staff to leave, so I don't know what to expect from the commissioners, and that's clearly a violation of the open meeting law, so I don't know what to expect with them during our meeting tonight, right now, so.
Gotcha.
That should be fun.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question. I was wondering what happened tonight.
Yeah, so we don't know what happened, and there was 3 people in that executive session, they told their clerk to leave, and they were told by the cable TV people, this could be a violation, and they did whatever they
Because
wanted
it
to do.
wasn't on the agenda?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Motion to
noted
adjourn?
for Monday.
So
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go see kickoff.
You shut up.